and he was highlighting a historical event that had happened about 400 years earlier. Now, when Alexander the Great had got to near the end of his conquests, he also set up 2 shrines to Oceanus and Neptune, saying, "I have reached the ends of the earth." So similarly, here in the northeast of England, Emperor Hadrian, when he was dedicating these shrines to Oceanus and Neptune, was saying, "I have got to the end of the earth. This is as far as you can go." And so right here at Ponysalius and the building of Hadrian's Wall, we can see a Roman emperor copying the Greek conqueror Alexander the Great in what he had done. Now we're going to move forwards in history, and as we move forwards in history, right here you can see some stones in the ground, and these are ruins that actually mark out where there was an Anglo-Saxon church on this site. Now this Anglo-Saxon church, we're not entirely sure of its name, but this would have been built into the ruins of the Roman fort, and there are 2 Anglo-Saxon churches on this site. So when the Romans left Britain and they left the whole area of northern England, the Germanic peoples migrated into the east coast of Britain, and they took over many Roman sites because of the prestige and the honor that was associated with the Roman Empire. And so these sites became very important, and quite often churches were built in and around Roman forts. So right here, this was an Anglo-Saxon church that was then built and then rebuilt on this site, and you can actually see gravestones in front of me, and those gravestones would have been very important at the time because they would have marked out important people who were buried in and around the church. In fact, you can actually see quite a rare thing, which is a hogback, and that's a hogback which would have been from the 9th century and quite very much associated with Scandinavians and Danish burials here in the British Isles, and also Norwegian burials as well. But when they excavated around the castle in the 1970s, they actually discovered over 660 burials. So when you have all of these burials around here, we know that there's a very active community in and around Newcastle, and that makes a lot of sense because we know there were quite a few settlements in and around the area that would become Newcastle, including across in Gateshead. Slightly further along you have Elsick, you have Benwell, and to the east as well you also have Pandon, which is another substantial town or village. So all of these local settlements may have brought their dead to the location of the previous Roman fort and buried them here. But we have 660 burials on the site, and that's only on the area that was excavated, so there are probably many more burials in and around this location. And in fact, when they were doing some work on the road layout and putting in a cycle lane, they discovered a mother and child burial. So we know that there are even more burials to be discovered in and around here of this Anglo-Saxon graveyard. So on this site here, we've got a range of history ranging from the Ice Age and the Stone Age right the way through to the Roman period, and then after the Roman period into the Anglo-Saxon period, telling the story of this site around the castle and how it's been occupied by so many different people and being significant to different groups, from, you know, Stone Age people burying a canoe with animal bones, which comes across as a sort of like a sacrifice or an offering to local river spirits, through to the Romans who have built a defensive barrier in northern Britain, and then the Anglo-Saxons who have chosen this site to build a church and bury their dead on this location. And then the Normans come along and build a castle because it again becomes a defensive position that's important to them, and that's the role that they need in this area. So it's a very interesting one when you have a look at all of this history on the site, and why Newcastle's castle has got all of these layers of history even before you get to the castle itself. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that you'll join me again in another one soon. Until then, keep safe and well, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.